Sync, motherfucker. All right. Are the sunglasses too much? I don't know yet. Can I read with them? I am back. I was thinking what I would do next, so I thought I would read an excerpt from a novel I've already spent 10 years trying to put together. Just a bit of background. There are two protagonists. One woman who removes her own heart, and just your average run-of-the-mill guy kind of looking for something and doing everything while falling apart at the same time. Just normal life stuff. So, I mean, this is actually a real thing that happened to me. And in this part, because it will be such a long time before you read this book, maybe 15 years if I ever finish it. The me that's writing it creates a character called Martin, which is my middle name, and has a bit of a breakdown and starts unraveling. I will be doing a number of readings from this collection, and you'll notice there's some very different tones within the book, and that's why it's taking me so long, because you have to find a balance between the realities. It's kind of similar to the using color grading in film, so that you know, oh, that's this character. It terrifies me to actually come back and read parts of this book, because I know one day I will finish it, and I don't know how it's going to look. I think at the moment there's 120,000 words in it. Probably a lot of them need to be cut out. Let's jump straight into it and see what happens. Shall we start? Shall we? I'm talking to nobody. There's nobody else here. It's just me and my ego. Let's start. Anyway, yeah. So essentially, my life is one big writing. And I don't know if you can put that into a book. Maybe I should just make one just giant book, and it doesn't end properly. Things don't resolve. Just completely suddenly changes, like when you uproot yourself and move somewhere new, or yeah, people that have jobs go and get a new job, work for somebody. I should do that. Be very useful. Okay. This bit's not going to be on the promotional reel thing, is it? Maybe bits of it, but sorry, my apologies, and good luck to those of you watching on the long format version on YouTube. Right. I'm sitting on a park bench in Berlin. I have a laptop with a modem, and I'm within range of a Wi-Fi connection from a place I went to a long time ago with a woman now forgotten. I say woman specifically. I was 26 when I met her, when I tasted her, when she brought me breakfast in secret, then dressed and drove her son to school. She was 37, and I pushed her to breaking point and watched her snap. That late winter night, the storm before the calm, I watched her, a few hundred meters from where I sat now, laying on the road, where late-night date nights ended in drink driving over snow. Kunststrasse was in front of me. The U1 U-Bahn 1 station behind. Savigny-Platz, to be precise. Behind me then, just like now, where I sit broken 6 years later. That evening the woman screamed across the winter scene. The words were muted by the density of the falling snow. There was no echo to make sure a sound was real. That crisp, clear wind upon the skin, snowflakes collecting on thick jackets, melting on my hair. I'd stepped over her as she lay across a white line. I kept on walking as I heard a car slow and sound a horn. Doors opened, and she was up and running at me. I didn't look back. As she passed, she thrust her hand deep into my pockets, and my body spun with the momentum. I rotated like a protein in a cell wall, grabbing amino acids and twisting them inward. Facilitated, diffuse. She had my keys in her hand and ran to my apartment in blind desperation. She dropped her bag, left it scattered across the deeper snow between the tire lines. I took it. I looked inside, and between her phone and her purse I found her keys and spent the night at her apartment. It was a fair exchange. Her apartment was bigger and her son was with her father. She had food and wine, a priority for me right now. This was how cold my heart had become since. The wet winter Berlin air was warming it, the shattered shards of heart beating slightly darker than the me of a year before. I knew she couldn't even call me. I had her phone. I had her keys. I had her chained. I wish I had those keys now, a lifetime of failures later condensed into 5 years. I have not a cent in the world. I have a carry-on bag and my brother's number. He's not answering, and neither are my parents. How did I get here? Why am I here? I was in the Tropic of Cancer not so long ago, Indonesia. I fall from a park bench into a painted memory, perfected more so each time I visit. There I am, half dipped in the ocean, straddling a surfboard at sunset. Vast undulations lulled me to a sense of peace. I paddled beyond the other surfers, deep into the ocean, so I felt alone with the setting sun. I saw nothing but the vast expanse of it slicing a line across the bottom of the sky. The nose of my surfboard breached the water, and I splashed it with a sideways cut of my open palm. I watched as the drops of water found their way home. They raced across the waxed deck of the orange surfboard. The watercolor was at the green end of blue. I was deep in the moment when the dark thought of the depth below me brought fear, pinpricks and shivers, a centipede across the skin above my spine. That memory I experienced but built from the accounts of the witnesses. I'm under a bubble-wrap blanket. It's heavy, and it obscures my sight. My mouth is just above the waterline, and one hand outstretched and desperate grips the cold stainless steel of a swimming pool ladder. I hear my mother's panic. I cannot call out. They cannot see me. I'm 2 years old. They told me it was God that saved me. If it was, he's been busy doing it over and over for the last 30 years. He must have tired of it by now. Where was he, God, the Christian one? I'd abandoned him. Was I still under that thick roll of opaque plastic, forced under by the weight of it, drowning once again? I'm back at the primary escape, above the waterline. The sun moves fast, dives almost, into a distant sea. As it does, the silhouette of East Java darkens in contrast to the coloured skies, where red blends through orange to blue, and the undersides of fluffy puffs of white clouds are stained pink for the last of the daytime minutes. It's a fucking motorbike. Right outside! Oh, I'm going to stop the reading. Tertiary sink. It's the third recording. I see, as is foretold by all surfers, the sunset set. 6 waves in unison, bigger than the rest and bearing down on my position. My ride to the shore. My ride to the warm skin of love and lips and a cool beer after a shower at a beach bar, to rid my skin of salt. I like the salt. I take the last wave of the 6, leaving the first few to clear the others from my path. I stand and drop at the same time, and glide through sensations of which cannot be explained. A wall of water vertical to my right. Salt water, glass smooth and in the shadow of the setting sun. My fingertips drink the water from the wall and leave a trail. A poem forms from memory written long ago and experienced again. Freshness and quenching like sacrifice offering runs across my skin like last night we were dancing. Hand forms elliptical path I have taken. Eyes forge the visual, memorial making. The mind scatters across an age of experiences. Salt now lay scattered on a cold pathway below my bench in an empty square 3 weeks before spring changes the city of Berlin. I was alone. God watched on intently. Martin sits back with a knowing smile, a wave of confidence he got from writing something that felt like it had meaning to him. Between a 1-hour messenger discussion with a friend on an ICE train from Berlin to Cologne about love and confidence of handsome men, broken hearts and jewelry as a business, Martin was reading the Kindle sample of Norwegian Wood by Murakami, Martin's most recent literary obsession. 8 books in 4 months from the same author. Martin smiled because he thought what he wrote was different from his author crush, but good writing, real. He wanted real. It's all he had, real fiction, reliving real experiences and writing them, like his new favourite author, to make them feel real, or to try to feel something lost in those moments. Answers were what Martin wanted. Answers to questions like, why was Martin now writing in the third person, using his middle name as a character in a book about himself? Martin allows time for his copied and pasted text to be read on a super-fast train carving its way through the German night. Silent and efficient, she reads. The message says, yes, you can write. Martin had let her know he was now a writer. They hadn't seen each other for almost 2 years. Martin feels the buzz of approval, like a child tying his shoe for the third time in front of his father. Why father? Lorry knots, memories of drunken nights in Bali, infidelity, conversations intertwined with infidelity, This is not an easy bit to read. It's exciting, but it's not easy to read. Lorry knots, memories of drunken nights in Bali, infidelity, conversations intertwine with drug-fueled discourse and disseminate against a moonless night. A deluge of linear hell descends across Martin's mind. He hears it like an imagined sound. Martin's emotions had been stirred that evening like a winter soup. The viscous, hot, coarse grains of carrot and coriander against the cool spirals of single cream, white. The taste was not the same as the ingredients. There were too many ingredients fighting for flavor fame amongst the tumult, against a barrier that blocked out the despair. Despair built over time in millions of minutes, like the flow of water through the Hoover Dam where Martin stood with suicide thoughts on skateboard wheels that would mark his final gesture to life. His mind was aware of his excessive thought and scrabbled for traction in the deluge. At that moment, Denise called. His breath was a distant concept. You'll find out who Denise is another time. Or we could find out who the real Denise was. But she's a lawyer, she'd probably sue me. Denise means ocean in Turkish. And I went on a date. I've got that book. I've got that. Let's do that next. We are doing that next. The Denise that calls there in the book, which is me rolling, making time non-linear. I actually wrote something else about going to meet her on a first official date in Belgrade, where I had a lovely time until she arrived. A lovely time after she left and got robbed. So that was fun. Okay, I think we did it. That's the first one done. Boom.